Alright guys, welcome back. Long time no see, right? So, a few weeks ago I reviewed the Eachine VR-D2 Pro goggles, which are a cheap FPV box type set of goggles. This time I'll be reviewing the Eachine Goggles 2. And yes, that's the name, Goggles 2. Let me put this antenna back on. The VR-D2 Pros run for about $80, where the Goggles 2 run between $140 to $160. So I'm going to say right off the bat, I am not too impressed with these. Now they might be for you. There's a goggle for everybody. So I'm going to explain the difference between the two and why you may or may not want these. Besides the price, and by the way, I'm going to leave you links to both of these goggles in the description below so you can just check them out for yourself. But the biggest difference is going to be the VR-D2 Pros have the DVR feature where these do not. But these do have the HDMI input where the VR-D2 Pros don't. When you purchase these goggles, you get the goggles, 2 antennas, and by the way, these are RP-SMA, so if you do order better antennas, just keep that in mind. You get a 2200 mAh battery with the battery charger, one of these RCA cables, as well as the HDMI cable, neat little user manual, and 2 of all of the foam inserts. So this is my spare set, and I already have it set on the goggles. Now there is an additional piece, this one right here, that goes over the nose. I don't have it on because, well, let's talk about fit. They fit very similar to the VR-D2 Pros, and what I mean by that is it's not that uncomfortable. I mean, I would say it's comfortable. It's not too heavy. One thing I will say though is I originally put the foam piece over the nose, this guy, but when you do that, all of the weight of the goggles was right on top of my nose, and it was so uncomfortable. So I did remove it, though after you do remove it, your nose is not touching anything, and because it's not touching anything, there's a little bit of light that leaks through the bottom. Now, with Fat Shark goggles, a lot of guys complain about light leaks because the screens are so close to your eyes, it does affect your vision. I think because the screen is set so far back in these that the light leak, it doesn't bother you one bit because it's like you're looking down a tunnel. As far as image quality, I would actually say it's pretty good. Like, that's actually probably the best thing about these goggles. And not just the image quality when you're flying, but also, well, because this doesn't have the DVR feature, I can't show you what I'm seeing, so I just took my camera and put it inside the goggles. But I hooked up the HDMI cable and I was just watching some YouTube videos. I've also used these goggles with a simulator, which is another reason why you may want the HDMI input. Simulators are great. A lot of us use them to practice flying and without the expense of breaking stuff. But what's even better than practicing on a simulator is practicing on a simulator wearing the goggles that you would normally wear. That way you just get accustomed to it and used to it, and it actually does make a difference. It also has a audio out jack for your earbuds. I'm just using a little short one like this. And once again, just like the image quality, the audio quality is actually really good. Now the biggest drawback about these goggles, and first let me explain something, because every time I give something a poor review, I think people take it the wrong way. If you've been watching my reviews recently, especially with the video transmitters I've been reviewing, half of them I've given bad reviews because they're either bad right out the box or they somehow got past the quality control check. But then again, a lot of these cheap parts, they don't even have quality control, so they're it's not like they're escaping through it or anything, it's just not there. But the point I'm trying to make is, even though this looks like it has a diversity setup, it doesn't work. And I'm just going to say, it could be all of these goggles, but it could also just be this particular set that I have in my hand, because it seems like, when I ordered these cheap parts, you have a 50-50 chance of it actually working or not. So I don't know which one it is. I'm just letting you know through my testing of both flying, also setting my multirotor inside and just walking out into the parking lot, taking one antenna off and putting one on at a time. This antenna is the only one that works. This one does not. You might as well not have an antenna on at all. So this set right here does not have diversity. It does not work. Like I said, I don't know if that's all of them or just this one. Couldn't tell you. Now let's talk about the buttons. You can press this button right here. It will automatically scan through all the bands and frequencies to find your frequency. Though you do have to keep in mind, if you are flying with other friends or anything like that, chances are it's going to pick up one of their frequencies first and not yours. In that case, you would just have to use this plus or minus arrow, and you can manually go through all the frequencies on all the bands. And in the bottom right hand side of your screen, you can actually see the frequency that you're on. Also, it's not perfect. Even if you are flying by yourself, you can press this button. For example, I fly on F8 because my friends, we all have our predetermined frequencies already set up, so when we just show up to the field, we don't have to dick around with figuring out who's on what band and frequency. But I use F8, and that is 5880. When I press this button, it went to 5884 or 5888. I can't remember. It is close enough to get video, but it's on a completely wrong band, so then I have to manually go through and find 5880. You also get the square button right here, and this will enter the menu. In the menu, you can choose between NTSC or PAL, so keep that in mind if you do try these goggles out. By default, they are set to PAL, so if you are using a NTSC camera, you're not going to get video until you change it in the menu. You can also change your lighting for the screen, the contrast, and a bunch of other stuff. You can change the volume for your earbuds, and the video output. You can switch between 16:9 or 4:3, a bunch of different settings. And that's pretty much going to do it, guys. So overall, I think if you don't care for HDMI one bit, then I would not recommend these goggles. But if you do want HDMI, this is probably going to be one of the cheapest goggles out there with that feature. So that does it, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.